Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to be sitting here and filming this video. I was gone for a week, only a week, and that is because I was sick and I did not feel well enough to film, so I'm feeling much better now. I had a very long week of doing not much, watching a lot of shows because that's all the brain power that I had. I wanted to read. I did read a little bit, and so this is just a little catch-up to tell you guys what I've been reading, what I've read, what I'm in the middle of, and some things that I've been watching that relate to books that I've read, and this is just a nice little catch-up. So I'm very excited to be sitting here and talking to you guys. I told you guys on my social medias that I wasn't going to be uploading because I was under the weather, and you guys sent me some really sweet messages hoping I felt better, so thank you so much for being so sweet and so kind, and thank you for your well wishes. I am much better now, so that's amazing. My voice might sound a little bit weird, so obviously that's why, but it's getting a lot better. It was way worse. So anyway, I have a little stack of books here to talk about, and I think the first one that I want to talk about, I actually forgot to mention this in my October wrap-up, and that is How Much Land Does a Man Need and What Men Live by Leo Tolstoy. This is the Penguin Little Black Classics number 57. This is for the Dickens vs. Tolstoy book club that Emma and I obviously are co-hosts of. We haven't had a debate since I was in Canada in September, and we need to have a Martin Chuzzlewit DNF and Tolstoy debate, which we don't know when that's gonna happen. We're being quite bad hosts. Oops, it's probably more like, I feel like it's more me, but I don't know. Emma's doing the readings, so am I. But anyway, I read this. I love it. This was actually my first Tolstoy. This is what I read before I read Anna Karenina to introduce me to Tolstoy's writing, because I wanted to just dip my toe since this is so thin. And this is two short stories, How Much Land Does a Man Need and What Men Live By. Both of them I love. I think I prefer How Much Land Does a Man Need. They're both in the style of fables. They kind of feel like folk tales and fables, and that's how Tolstoy kind of tells it and it's written, where it has that feeling of there is a lesson to be learned when you read this. And I do really like that quality in storytelling because it reminds me of when I was younger and it brings me back to my roots. It's really nostalgic for me, so I love that. And I just think the concepts are very clever. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about this because Emma and I will hopefully have a whole debate talking about it. So yes, that's How Much Land Does a Man Need. I think it's a fantastic place to start with Tolstoy if you're new to Tolstoy and you don't want to go right in for Anna Karenina or War and Peace. I highly recommend this one. Like I said, it's number 57 in the Little Black Classics. These are great, perfect ways to introduce yourself to an author. So that is the first one, put it here. Then the next book that I finished is Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. Did I talk about this in my October wrap-up? I think I did, but I wanted to tell you guys that I finished the show. I watched all 8 seasons. I really liked season 8. I know so many people have very conflicting feelings about it, but I think my favorite season, besides the first season because it introduces you to the worlds, and I always love the beginning of stories and the beginning of shows, but I really loved season 7 in particular. And season 8, the production quality was incredible. Every episode looked like a film. It looked like just this incredible masterpiece of cinematography and costume and acting, and it was just so good. And I do feel like some gripes that I have with season 8, my main ones are that I felt like it was a little rushed. One of the huge concepts around the story is a battle between the living and the dead, and I just felt like, without giving any spoilers, it was very quick and I kind of wanted it to be dragged out a little bit longer. And then my other one was just that it did feel a little like they were trying to cram in a really big story in a shorter amount of time, and that's what I love about TV shows, is you're able to, when you're adapting a book into a show, you're able to adapt more of it unlike when you adapt it into a film and you have to cut a lot of things out. That being said, I forgot which seasons. I definitely know 6, 7, and 8 are after the books, so I'm interested to see how George R.R. Martin hopefully continues his series. I've only read the first one. I do have the second one because it was given to me for my birthday from Emma, so Emma, thank you so much. I forgot where I put that. I think that's in my other room. My one thing that I'm wondering is, because other people finished his story for him or did one interpretation of it, the ending, I wonder how that makes him feel. Like, is that challenging? Does that add more difficulty to finishing the story because someone else finished it, but did you have, obviously I'm sure he had a different ending in mind, or he wanted to change different things, so I'm just curious to see what he does with it, and I'm really excited, but I'm also very patient. I'm very happy to wait. I don't mind waiting. I know so many people have been waiting for years and years and years, so that does get very frustrating. But for me, who's just getting into this world, I'm really excited about it, and I'm happy to continue my journey with reading all the books and to see the different things that aren't included in the show. I know that they go a lot deeper with certain character storylines, so I'm excited to read about that. Anyway, so that's Game of Thrones. Been loving it, and I definitely want to watch House of the Dragon. So many people have been commenting about that recently because I've been talking about Game of Thrones, and also a lot of people have been watching it, and it looks amazing. Everybody seems to be loving it, so I'm very excited about it. And yes, I also think, no, I definitely know that those have books as well, so I could possibly read those at some point too. Anyway, so that is Game of Thrones. Then the next book that I read, I actually listened to on audiobook because I was trying to get some work done when I wasn't feeling well. But like I said, brain power was really low. But I did listen to Me Talk Pretty One Day by David Sedaris. This is a nonfiction. It is stories from David Sedaris. He is a comedic writer. I believe he is a comedian. He's a humorist. Welcome to the wonderful world of America's foremost humorist, David Sedaris, where learning French, like life, is littered with idiosyncratic delight. My voice went, idiosyncratic delight. Anyway, so I really enjoyed this. I gave it 3 stars. It was kind of a middle ground book. Some of the stories I really liked. Sometimes I was laughing so hard, it was so funny. Other times I just didn't jive really well with some of the stories. David Sedaris, I think he's a great writer. I think that he tells a story really well. You can tell that he is a natural born storyteller. He's great at jokes. He's great at just like witty banter, witty storytelling. He knows when a punchline is. And I loved listening to the audiobook because he narrated it himself. And some parts of the narration had an audience attached to it, so it sounded like he was speaking into a microphone in front of an audience, so it sounded like you were listening to a comedy show, which at some times I really liked. Those are the stories that I actually thought were the funniest, and maybe that's because he is introducing it to a crowd, but I thought that was quite interesting. We follow stories about his childhood, his family, his parents, his relationships, and his relationship with learning French and living in France. And that's kind of how they market this book, is a very, I guess, like the essential French stories of David Sedaris. But there weren't too many French stories. There were quite a few, but I just expected it to mainly be all about him, at least like learning French or French life, which it was, but not as much as I was expecting. So just something to keep in mind. But I did want to read this book. I bought this book for myself, I think 2 years ago, because it's on the Rory Gilmore reading list, and I've heard a lot about David Sedaris, and so that's why I wanted to read more from him. I would be interested to maybe listen to some of his other audiobooks, but I don't feel super inclined to keep this book in my collection, so I might donate it to my library just so someone else maybe will have more of a, I don't know, a desire to keep it in their collection. Lately I've been trying to go through all of my books and make sure that I'm keeping the books that I really want on my shelves, because it is my perfect curated library. And anyway, I did a whole video about growing your perfect library and curating your perfect library, and that's something that I always try to keep in mind when I'm reading or listening to books, is if I don't love something, then don't hold on to it. I don't know if I would reread this, so that's one of like the big points of if I'm not going to keep a book, or ask myself, will I reread this? So anyway, that's me talk pretty one day. I did enjoy it, just not something that I would, you know, go back to. Then, like I said before, I did watch some things, and one of the things that I watched this past week while I was in bed not feeling well was My Policeman. This is the book by Bethan Roberts. I read this in the summer, and then I just watched the new movie adaptation with Harry Styles and Emma Corrin and David Dawson. I think that's his name. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a wonderful adaptation. I love Harry Styles. He is just such an incredible singer, and I think he's a really great actor. I really, really do. And Emma Corrin I know because she plays Diana in The Crown. I'm so excited because The Crown has the new season out. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm so excited about it. And that was the first time of me watching anything with David Dawson, who plays Patrick, and I just thought they did a really great job adapting it. They did make a few slight changes, but nothing that I was angry about or I thought, oh, why did they do that? I think all the choices they made perfect sense. Beautiful cinematography, beautiful scenery, the acting was great, the costume design was beautiful. I really liked everything about it. Harry Styles, just Harry Styles. It's Harry Styles. So that was fantastic, and I thought they did a great job adapting it from the book, so I just wanted to tell you guys that it got my stamp of approval, in case you cared. So that is My Policeman, and then I am still in the middle of reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I am on, I think, book 8 now? Yes, I'm on book 8, and I'm still really, really enjoying it. Every time I read this, I am just highlighting so many things, and it's just a wonderful book with so much insight into life and the human condition, and it's just so beautiful and beautifully written, so maybe I'll share something with you guys. I feel like my voice is getting weirder the longer I'm talking. Observe the movement of the stars as if you were running their course with them, and let your mind constantly dwell on the changes of the elements into each other. Such imaginings wash away the filth of life on the ground. Now, I love that because I feel like I've talked about this quite a lot. I love looking at the stars because I find it really grounding, and I find it that, like, that's why I love stars. I have star tattoos. You guys know I love my star tattoos, and that's just because when I have all of my stone stars, you guys have seen these in a bookshelf tour. Anyway, I love stars. I actually have glow-in-the-dark stars on my ceiling, which I don't know if you might be able to see some of them, because some of them go down onto my wall a little bit, but anyway. Why I love stars is because I find them really grounding, and whenever I feel like my life is a little overwhelming or I'm stressed out, I always think to myself how little I am and how small those stresses are, even if they're big to me. It just puts things into perspective, and the way that he wrote that and the way that he said that, it perfectly explained how I feel about the stars and why I love looking up at the stars, and so that really hit home for me, and I loved that. And again, I'm just so fascinated by how I can relate to a person that lived so long ago, and that it just proves to you that human souls are unchanging, and the things that worry us we have in common, and I just find that really beautiful. So anyway, that is Meditations. I'm continuing to read it and love it, and now those are all the books that I've kind of been reading or watching. Last night I did watch Don't Worry Darling with Florence Pugh and Harry Styles, which is directed by Olivia Wilde, and all of the drama surrounding the release of that movie, I've kind of had like a very distant eye on. I've just been listening in without really like getting super into it, and I wanted to watch the film because it looked amazing. I again love Harry Styles. Florence Pugh is also an incredible actress, and I love everything that she's in. And anyway, I was mind blown by that movie. Mind blown. And I thought that it was so brilliant and creepy, and they consider it a psychological thriller, and sorry if you can hear that plane. Oh, that's significant. Don't worry, darling. A plane. Anyway, we'll wait till it passes. Anyway, so I just thought that it was a mind-blowing idea, a mind-blowing concept, and if it was a book, like I kept thinking about how it kind of felt like a book. And do you ever feel that? Like sometimes you watch a movie and you feel like it was adapted from a book, but it wasn't. I find those kinds of movies really interesting, and I think that they would make really good books. Anyway, so Don't Worry Darling, I don't want to say anything about it. I just want to tell you guys that I watched it. I thought it was amazing, and it blew my mind to the point that at the end I was like, I need more information about this, and I was looking online about like Easter eggs, because there are a lot of Easter eggs in the film that kind of hint at what's actually going on. And oh yeah, like I was saying, it is considered a psychological thriller, and you guys know I'm a big baby. I get scared really easily, but what I love is psychological films where it's not outright scary, but the things that are happening are unconsciously creepy, or like things that are happening that aren't okay, but like everyone's acting like it's okay, but there's really like creepy stuff going on. I love that, and that's kind of like Don't Worry Darling. It reminded me a lot of The Truman Show with Jim Carrey. That's one of my favorite films. I love The Truman Show. So yes, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, to tell you that I watched it and I loved it, and I would love your opinions on it if you watched it as well. Without giving any spoilers, because again, I feel like that movie, everyone should go into it not knowing anything. I just thought it was brilliant. Yes, so I haven't been reading too much else. I really want to read The Winners and Norwegian Wood. Those are like my priority November reads, but what's crazy is that it's already mid-November, and I feel like I haven't read anything or done anything because I've been sick. So anyway, I am hoping to read more, get back into the swing of filming and everything. I have some Etsy orders to wrap, because while I was under the weather, you guys have still been ordering from my Etsy shop, which is so wonderful, so thank you so much. I am working on another restock for the holidays, and I want to have some holiday items available, so I've been working on that as well. I've been trying to slowly get back into my work routine. So slow and steady, that is what I'm doing. And anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little catch-up, tell you guys what I've been reading and watching. I would love to know what you've been reading and watching. And yes, so I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I will see you soon in another video. Happy reading.